Hello, beautiful soul. My name is Mara. I'm a psychic, intuitive tarot and oracle reader, and today I welcome you to the 6th class within my tarot course. We are going to be deep diving into the Hierophant card, so grab your notebooks if you're taking notes, grab your Hierophant card, and let's get started. This archetype as a whole represents tradition, religion, and a position of spiritual power. It can look like conformity or living up to societal norms and expectations. With its high religious influence, there is an added layer of spiritual righteousness that can come with meeting these expectations. So within this archetype, you can either be in the position where you feel enlightened and guided by its structure, or you may be feeling judged and shamed for not living up to such intense regulations. The Hierophant as a person can be seen in teachers, prophets, life coaches, and mentors. These are typically people in a position of power and authority and excel greatly in providing others with structure and leadership. These people feel called to guide others into a specific way of living. They feel responsible for encouraging others to do as they have done or as they are currently being called to do. They thrive off of religious or spiritual power, creating what can be a very empowering and uplifting experience for others, but has great potential to turn into a toxic or judgmental environment. As an experience, this archetype can be felt through spiritual awakenings, talking to or connecting with a higher power, learning new things, expanding your senses, and following the teachings of a spiritual leader. Overall, this archetype is very powerful and can be extremely expansive. It can look very different from person to person. Some may find trauma in it and others will find relief. But when faced with this archetype, whether it's a person, an experience, or an environment, you will be sure to leave the interaction with some kind of new wisdom. Starting with the Visconti Sforza, we see a depiction of the Pope sitting in a throne wearing the papal tiara. He is raising his right hand in gesture of blessing or benediction, and in his left hand he holds a staff. In the Marseille, we see the Pope in his traditional attire. He's still holding a staff in one hand and doing the gesture of benediction in the other. This time, there are two figures kneeling at his feet. As you can see, the Oswald Wirth Tarot didn't stray too far from the Marseille, and that has been a common theme throughout the development of this card. Not a whole lot has changed in the visual evolution. Lastly, in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we see the Pope enthroned between two large pillars. He's wearing traditional attire and is holding the same hand posture and triple cross staff that we've seen before. Two figures kneel before him, one dressed in a robe covered in red roses, and the other dressed in a robe covered in white lilies. We also see two keys crossed beneath the Pope's feet. Dumoulin labeled this card Jupiter, the everlasting, mounted on an eagle. Livy labeled it the Hebrew letter He, the Pope, indication, demonstration, instruction, law, symbolism, philosophy, and religion. Mathers described the card as the Hierophant or Pope, mercy, beneficence, kindness, and goodness. The Golden Dawn describes it as the Magus of the eternal gods, Hierophant, aspiration, power of the keys, the temporal power of official religion, on the evil side, sacerdotal, tyranny, and interference. Waite describes the card as the Hierophant, marriage, alliance, servitude, by another account, mercy and goodness, inspiration, the man to whom the Courant has recourse. Number 5 speaks of change and adaptability. The energy of this number can bring freedom, adventure, and new experiences. There's a sense of restlessness with the number 5 that can only be quieted through exploring new ideas, places, and people. With this number revolving around change, you can find many obstacles and challenges due to the revolving door of energy and ideas. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you aren't acting quickly, you may end up facing destructive change rather than constructive change. Like all backgrounds in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, there is a purpose in all of the colors being used. Here, we have a white background. This represents purity, balance, faith, and innocence. These pillars have debated meanings and representation. Primary source materials let us know that they are not the same pillars as the one that the High Priestess guards, but beyond that, they are left up to interpretation. The most common opinion is that they represent the pillars of liberty and law. He is wearing traditional papal vestments, including the color red, white, and blue. His regalia is a sign of status and power. In tarot, blue represents the subconscious, intuition, and communication. White represents innocence, purity, balance, and faith. And red represents power, strength, authority, and passion. So one could say that he is cloaked with these qualities. Being another symbol of the Pope's status and power, this tiara is also known as the triregnum. It represents 3 rulerships of the pontiff: supreme pastor, supreme teacher, and supreme priest. The 3-cross staff is yet another symbol of status and authority. The 3 bars are generally considered to be representative of a few different things. First, the Trinity, the Father God, the Son Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Secondly, they represent the Pope's authority over church, the world, and heaven. Lastly, they may have similar meaning to the papal tiara, representing the threefold power of the Pope, being a supreme pastor, teacher, and priest. Within this card, this symbol represents heaven and earth and the power to channel the in-between. Much like we learned in the Magician card, this symbol brings to mind the saying, "as above, so below," which means that whatever happens down here on earth is directly impacted and even controlled by the cosmos. Religiously, this is a gesture used by priests to bestow blessings upon their fellowship. The keys represent the ones that Christ gave to St. Peter, known as the keys to heaven. They symbolize the authority to preach the gospel and forgive sins. Keys are a long-standing symbol of access and control, meaning that this specific key holder is someone with special access to heaven and the authority to absolve others of their sins. There are 2 men kneeling at the Pope's feet. This is to signify being beneath him and the Holy Father, which is the bridge between man and God. The one on the left is wearing a robe decorated with red roses, which represent love and passion. The one on the right is wearing white lilies, which represent innocence and purity. The Hierophant is ruled by the element of earth. Earth is grounded, nurturing, stable, and secure. When earth-dominant cards come out, it's a sign to build stability and use your strength. In order to come out on top, you're going to have to stand your ground and stay committed to the matter at hand. Being reliable and loyal are key factors to your success. If you're doing a past, present, future spread and the Hierophant lands in the past position, this would likely be pointing to a time when you gained a new skill, learned something new, or received some kind of guidance. It could also point to a spiritual awakening or a time when you developed new beliefs surrounding your religion or spirituality. If the Hierophant lands in the present position, it would likely be advising you to stay open-minded. Don't be afraid to change your perspective and try something new. It may also be a confirmation that you'll be very successful at school or in learning new skills to better yourself or your situation. Someone or something is trying to guide you at this time. You may need to swallow your pride and accept that you don't have all the answers. Now is a good time to ask for help and lean on others. And if this card lands in the future position, it would be a sign to prepare for a lesson to come. There will be someone or something in your life that will help you through an obstacle to get what you want. Your future looks bright and full, but you have to be willing to do the work to grow. It may also be pointing to a future spiritual awakening or just an experience that deepens your understanding of spirituality and/or religion. As a single card reading, it depends on what you're asking about. As a person, the Hierophant would represent someone who is a natural-born teacher, someone who is great at leading others to a deeper understanding of their situation or a specific topic. This is someone who is likely very spiritual or religious and doesn't shy away from voicing their opinions to others. They can be very uplifting and supportive or extremely judgmental or even spiteful and hateful. As an environment, this card would represent a church, a mosque, a temple, or another place of worship. Overall, it would be a very spiritually charged place, likely full of people who have strong spiritual or religious beliefs. On the other hand, it could be a place that encourages growth and learning, like a school, a classroom, or even a therapist's office. As an energy, this card would represent spirituality and a sense of connectedness, a feeling of oneness within yourself and the universe. It could also represent a spark of genius, growth, and learning. For example, when you have a strong desire to change something about yourself, create something, or learn something new. Overall, it's a very receptive energy, so it could represent an intense hunger for knowledge. When the Hierophant is surrounded by pentacles, it's likely pointing to you learning new skills within your career or starting a new career altogether. You may go to school or take a class to get some kind of certification to do what you want. It could also speak of trying a new diet or learning about new health trends that could potentially benefit you or someone that you know. Overall, it's an indicator that you should grow beyond your current financial or physical situation in order to feel more successful. When the Hierophant is surrounded by swords, it indicates an intense hunger for knowledge. You may need to create new ideas or listen to and heed the advice of others. However it's showing up for you, there will be major learning curves within your mind that could literally be rewiring your brain. This is a time to be decisive and approach the situation with thoughtfulness, balance, and an open mind. This could also speak of politics within a specific religion, or politics being influenced by a specific religion. When the Hierophant is surrounded by cups, this would indicate a big growth moment in your emotional world. You may learn something about yourself that ultimately aids in your emotional satisfaction. It could be a call to ask for help or guidance, that doing things alone may not be serving you or your ability to regulate and process your emotions. In love, it could represent marriage, couple counseling, or just growing together as a team. When the Hierophant is surrounded by wands, this would indicate great spiritual growth. A new spiritual or religious path may be opening up for you, or you may be the one guiding others into their own. This is a time to take action towards your goals, learn new skills, stay creative, and expand your current situation. All of your current creative endeavors need sort of an upgrade and will benefit greatly from your willingness to learn, grow, and seek guidance. Reading reversals is a personal preference. Upright cards have everything that you need to make a clear and concise reading. If you choose not to read reversed, it will not limit you in any shape or form as a reader. But with that being said, if you do want to read reversals, and that's how the Hierophant comes out, it would represent nonconformity. You should take the unconventional path to find success and growth in the matter at hand. It could be indicating that the solution that you're looking for is to simply stop going with the flow and to create your own path. On the other hand, it could represent shame and guilt that is weighing heavy on you, almost preventing you from being able to move forward or to learn from your current situation. So there you have it. That's the Hierophant. Next up, we will be deep diving into the Lover's card, so stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions or additional insights, then please feel free to comment. Thank you all so much for being here and learning about this card with me. I'll see you next time. Blessed be.